Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Car Connection Workshop. Yeah, we're in the sunshine this morning. Kind of looks like I have a halo. The sunshine is coming right through the front bay doors into the shop. My mother used to say, "Yes, my son, you always have a halo with a black ring." Okay, all right, let's get into this. We have a rotor to put on here. I did the other side already. I waited for you, but you didn't show up, so I did the other side. If you're wondering why this is so nice, is they now put a coating on these rotors from some of the manufacturers, prevent them from rusting when they're in storage. And this isn't just a fancy blue bag, it's actually a hermetic bag, prevents the rotors from building up any kind of rotor spots, rust spots when they're in storage. So we don't need to sand this off, we don't need to take sandpaper to it or anything. It is ready to install. Keep your hands off the surface. If you do get some grease on there, you just want to use some brake parts cleaner with a clean, dry cloth. Now, when you're putting these on, make sure the rotor is seated. I'm doing this whole job with hand tools to show you, yes, you can do it yourself in your garage or on your carport, wherever, safely. Watch the video on how to jack a car up and keep it safely on jack stands. Make sure your rotor is completely seated. So I've got it there. Do you think it's seated? It actually isn't. Now it is. You hear that clunk? It's on there. So now I hold it. I'm going to take one of my summer wheel nuts. I have separate wheel nuts and wheels and caps and stuff for winter. This I'm installing our summer set of tires and rims and wheel nuts. So these ones don't get corroded. I soak them in corrosion free in a container. So I do that with the winter ones as well. I spray them down. Okay, so now the rotor is secure. That's all we need to do. We don't need to put any toolage on there. Just make sure you've got something to hold it. If you're working on a car, your wheel nuts aren't as deep as these. So what I generally do is I have some really big nuts, and I'll put the nut on the stud and then put my wheel nut on, and it'll pull it in. You can also, if you have bigger wrenches, I put a wrench over top of the stud going down here, and then I'll put a wheel nut on, and 2 wrenches and 2 wheel nuts will hold that rotor in place for you. So that's all you need to do. Just get another wrench that goes over the stud, push it all the way down, and then put the wheel nut down the stud onto the wrench, and then use another wrench for the other side. Just as long as the wrench goes over the stud, it'll hold it for you. But in this particular case, we don't have to, because we've got extended nuts that go all the way down the studs. Next, we got a new caliper here. These are Reman. There's 2 things that I pay attention to before I put it on. Number 1, I will take the bleeder screw out for 2 reasons. 1, I put anti-seize on the threads of the bleeder, because if I need to get the bleeders open at some point, if I have a brake line burst or something, I've got to make a new steel line, I need to bleed the system, I know I can get the bleeder back out of the caliper. Number 2, there's a little tiny hole right there. Let's see if I can get that on the screen. You see the little tiny hole? You want to make sure you can see right through that little tiny hole to the other side. And if you can't, then you need to make sure that you can. Because what tends to happen is, and I've had it happen, where the bleeder screw was, the little bleeder was, the hole was plugged. And I've run into that more than once. So you want to make sure you can see that right through that hole to the inside, because this is hollow. So if I take this little rubber cap off, and I always put these caps back on, because it can plug this up, and then you can't, if you have to bleed the system again, good luck. You'll probably end up having to change the bleeder screws, and I do keep them in stock, but you probably don't. So we want to make sure that hole is open, because the brake fluid travels from the caliper out the end here. So that's important. So I've anti-seized the threads And I make sure that port is clear, and then I'll put it back in. And you should be able to thread that in all the way. And then what I do before I put it on is I'll just snug it up. Now, don't go crazy on the bleeder screw, guys. It's fine thread, and it's not holding the engine in, okay? Just snug it up. That's all. Okay, so now we're going to put the caliper on the rotor right now. Here's my caliper bolts. I've already put anti-seize on. Make sure you get anti-seize around what I call the top hat portion, because that's generally where it will seize. So we're ready. Both bolts are ready to go on. The issue we ran into was these two pistons on both calipers were never working right from the last brake job I did 2 years ago. We were only running on half the caliper, so these two pistons were coming out and working the outside brake pad like crazy. There wasn't much. You have to watch the other video. You'll see before we took it apart, I show you everything what happened. And 2 years ago, when I did the brake job, I phoned the parts place and I go, I don't know what's wrong, but I don't feel like I have the braking I had before I got started. Something's not right. Well, we determined it might have been the switch over from metallic pads to ceramic pads. And the ceramic pads, I don't care for them, to be honest, but they've done away with a lot of applications with the semi-metallic pads and the full metallic pads. They're not out there anymore. So they've gone to save the environment, they've gone to ceramic, but you don't have the braking power that you had before. You don't. So only half the caliper was working. This half was not working on both sides, so I really only had 50% braking. So hopefully this time around we get all 4 pistons working. This caliper is set up just like an older Corvette. We have a 78 over there that we're working on, and it has the same calipers design front and back. 4 pistons, 2 on the outside, 2 on the inside, because of the size of the rotor and the size of the vehicle. So now we're going to slip the caliper on. We're going to get a bolt started. And I'm doing this all by hand just for you, to show you that you can do it in your driveway with hand tools. Might take you a little longer, but you know what? You'll get the job done just the same. That's all that matters. So sometimes that bolt can be, once you get your first one in, the bottom one will be fairly easy. So notice I'm threading that in by hand. That's how clean I like the threads. If I have to force the bolts in, then you know what? I got a problem. So you might as well stop before you get started. Okay, so we get the bottom one in. And if you just wiggle it around a bit, you'll be able to thread that bolt in pretty much all the way by hand. And if you can't, that's okay. We get the socket and we put that on there and just crank it with the socket by hand and anchor it down, and then we're going to torque it. Now, I already looked up the torque specs. Torque spec is 90 foot-pounds. 91 technically, but 90 will be just fine. We just get that all the way down to the bottom. That's one. Do the same to the top. And again, I'm doing it by hand on purpose to show you you can do this whole process by hand with hand tools. It might take you a little longer, but you know what? If you're not running a race or anything, what does it matter? I'll say this for all the armchair warriors. I'm not about doing the job fast because I can be what? Get the checker flag for doing it super fast? I'd rather have my techs, and if you had a chance to talk to them, the techs that I trained, I wanted accuracy before speed. Because just because you can do it fast doesn't mean you did it any better than the guy. The tortoise and the hare. That's what I was taught by my military instructor. The tortoise and the hare. Just because you can do it faster doesn't mean you did it better. Usually there's a lot of sloppiness to that. So don't worry about how long it takes you Do the job right. Do it right the first time. So torque wrenches, you take care of them like they're babies because they have to be accurate. So I'm setting this up to 90. So there's 75, 80, 85, 90. I'm not going 110. I'm not going 100. It calls for actually 91. So I will go 75, 80, 85, 90, 5 foot-pound increments. And I will go halfway, just a hair above the 90. Will give us 91. So now, take our socket. We're going to put that on our tool here. I'm going to move that light out of my way. And we're going to torque those right away. And I don't just put the air tools on them and crank them up. If that's what you do, hey, whatever floats your boat, I don't care. I do it the right way. And that's what I teach here, and that's what I taught my apprentices, is I didn't allow apprentice that started working for me their first year, I never allowed them to use air tools. And the reason behind that was they got to get used to tightening stuff by hand so that you don't over tighten and break stuff. And then I'm having to take over the job and get broken bolts and stuff out of blocks and everything. That is 91 foot-pounds on number 1. Go to the bottom and do the same. So as long as you have hand tools, you got everything you need. You have a torque wrench, inch-pound or foot-pound, or you need another torque wrench to do smaller foot-pound torques, like anywhere from like 20 to 30. This one doesn't do that, so I have another torque wrench for that. So take good care of your torque wrench. I send it out every 2 years. The Snap-on guy comes by and I give it to him and they send it out and they calibrate it because it has to be accurate, especially if you're building a motor. It needs to be accurate. So now we know we've got our caliper torqued to the factory specs, 91 foot-pounds. And I don't leave my torque wrenches laying around out of the box, ever. Because as I said, they got to be accurate. What are we doing next? Next, we're going to hook up our fluid line, which is right down in here. Skippy, if you want to get in. Right here. That's your fluid line. What I do there is, I peel this back a little bit, and then I will just slop some anti-seize in here, and a little bit right on that edge there. Don't get it in the tube, just on that edge and around the collar. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. Because that is the area that tends to seize. So these are still the original brake lines for almost 400,000 K. So now what I do is I will just take this. I'll let myself get gooey just for you. As I now bring that down and I'm rotating and getting that anti-seize inside and on the line. Because what tends to happen is the threads don't seize, it's the nut seizes on the line. So once I've kind of rumbled that around a little bit, make sure I don't have any on the tip. Now I'm going to put that in. I got enough on the threads and enough on myself. I call it traveling grease. Because that stuff, when you think you don't have it on you, oh yes you do, somewhere. It gets on you somewhere. It just does. It gets on you. That's a 12 mil. And I just happen to have one not here. It's a 10. That's a 10, yep, not a 12. So we're going to get that into this hole on the caliper. I probably bent it a little bit at some point, so I'm just going to move that up a hair bit. So here's how I do it. Just like this with my wrench. Okay, and I get it, sneak it out of there. So I'm going to line that up. I'm going to hold it with my fingers, and I'm going to get the thread started. And if it's tight, then I know I'm cross-threading, okay? But I'm not, I'm good. Good at it. If that's going in tight, you're cross-threaded. Don't force it in. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself into a real jam-dindy problem. That's Jam Dindy is Jim Dandy. We always say Jam Dindy. You don't want to get into a Jam Dindy, let me tell you. And I do these by hand because it's not holding up the engine. It's not holding a wheel on. It's just a brake line. So I'll just get it down there and I'll snug it up. Jam Dindy. You want to make sure she's Jam Dindy. Yeah. So you see, we're almost there. So now I'm in. That's it. I'm not reefing on it. I'll just show you that again, because this is where a lot of people, this poor light has been, it's a champ. It's dropped from some pretty good heights. Poor thing, but these things work really good. I would buy these again. I got them from the Prince of the Palace store. So again, it's loose. Tighten it. Watch. That's it. That's all I need. You don't go overboard. Like I said, a lot of guys do. You might say, well, you know, you pinch the line, you're going to wreck it. Well, you know what? I haven't wrecked one in 44 years. 16 years? What? What? 16 years? What are you talking about, Skippy? What? Minutes. Minutes are muscle. So it's happy. We're good. We're good. I used to have these other clamps, and I think I lent them to somebody, and you know what happens when you lend tools? You don't get them back. Yeah, so then you know what I used to do, lend tools to guys. I had a sign-up sheet. Put the date, the time, and everything. So you want to borrow a tool from me, I don't mind, but you're on the sign-up sheet. You signed it. Print your name, put the date and the time. That way, if I forget, I can go, oh, so-and-so's got this. Then I go, ring-a-dingy. You remember? Oh, no, I never borrowed that. Yeah, on this date, at this time. Trust me. Oh, I almost forgot. Oh, yeah, the weather bell. I know you're enjoying the videos. Don't forget to ring the bell.